you know, he's probably further inland where he's not having to deal with quite so much flooding. And Paul, I want to talk a little bit about New Bern because that's what we keep emphasizing and all that flooding. So they are north of where the eye is coming in. They're north of Wilmington and Topsail Beach, about an hour away.
So they're just getting the top layer of the ocean, that storm surge, just getting dragged along by the hurricane's winds and sent into the city, essentially. Let's take a look at the headlines for this morning. We're going to talk about the top stories, what you need to know regarding Hurricane Florence. The big picture hasn't changed. To be prepared for damaging winds. We've had some wind gusts up to around 55 miles an hour already in Cumberland County, near Fairfield and in Fort Bragg. Power outages could result from that, especially south of the Triangle, but spotty outages elsewhere, too, with those gusts higher. Flash flooding and river flooding are going to be the main concerns. Flash flooding first as we head through the weekend, and then as those floodwaters, the short-term flash flooding starts to drop, it flows down into the rivers and streams that just are not going to be able to handle this volume of water. Changes. If you're just waking up with us at 6:30 on this Friday morning, since you went to bed last night, Florence is weaker. It's making landfall right now as a Category 1 hurricane, but still very dangerous, and you've seen that in the video we've been showing already. It is making landfall as we speak. The forecast calls for heavier and steadier rain in central North Carolina and stronger winds gradually moving in throughout the day. Here is Hurricane Florence right now, moving onshore near Wilmington as we speak. Some of the outer rain bands a little bit heavier now moving into central North Carolina. We're going to watch those for an isolated tornado threat overnight. Between 3 and 3:30, we had a couple of different tornado warnings just to the northeast of the Triangle. Haven't seen any signs of rotation with this band that's moving through right now, but we're going to keep a close eye on everything over the next couple of days. Here's the latest forecast path as of 5 o'clock from the Storm Prediction Center. You can see the historical path here just kind of zigzagging around because the hurricane has just ground to a halt, so it wobbles a little bit here and there. We need it to wobble south because that would help to drag the impact pattern farther south within central North Carolina. Unfortunately, I just don't see any scenario where it's going to get dragged out of central North Carolina. So in our southern counties, you need to be ready for disastrous flooding. That's going to continue to progress inland. The center of the storm will move away, but even as it arcs farther out to our west, it's going to roll up into East Tennessee. The rotation around this is still going to be dragging moisture from the Atlantic Ocean and surging it up across central North Carolina. So the flooding threat is going to continue even into Sunday, especially a little closer to the center of the storm. So at that point, it's going to be our western counties, especially in the Sandhills. Here's the up-close radar view of where the storm is right now. This is the eye of the storm just making its way onshore there between Topsail Beach and Wrightsville Beach. Wilmington in that outer rain band right now, the inner eye wall actually is where it's located with that heaviest rain moving inland as we speak. CBS 17 meteorologist Kristen Ketchel has been in Wilmington riding out the storm at the Emergency Operations Center there, and the conditions there have just been dreadful. Power out, as you would expect, with hurricane force winds sustained, and this thing is just moving on shore at walking speed. You could literally outwalk this hurricane. That's how slow it's going. That's why the flooding threat is going to be so profound for us here in central North Carolina as it slowly slides to our south. There's plenty of rain out there already this morning. For the most part, we're talking light to moderate rain, especially from the Triangle northward, but some pockets of heavy rain from Edgecombe County, especially around the Pine Tops area, just southwest of Tarboro, and then into Wilson County, including the city of Wilson itself. This band of rain continues down to the southwest through most of Johnston County right now. It's been raining heavily in Smithfield, but you're getting a little break at the moment. That continues to advance from east to west, so everything's moving from right to left across the screen. You've got to get used to things going backwards from the way you're used to seeing these weather maps. We look farther down to the south, and we are seeing some heavier rain through Harnett County and into northern Cumberland County as well. This is where the strongest wind gusts have been thus far. You're more likely to get some hurricane-force wind gusts from Cumberland County into Sampson County and Wayne County as well. That's where we do have that hurricane warning that's still in effect for Wayne and Sampson counties, and still a tropical storm warning in effect from the Triangle southward, because at least tropical storm force gusts with sustained winds still possibly reaching over 40 miles an hour as this hurricane gets closer and closer. Within the Triangle, it's light to moderate rain. That is the case farther to the north as well. We'll back out, put everything in motion. You can see everything pinwheeling around that center of circulation that is just making its way onshore right now. So let's track it with Futurecast, and it brings it slowly onshore. We're just going to stop the maps every once in a while here, about every 8 hours, and show you what we expect as we go through the rest of the day. We'll stop the maps this evening. We're still talking about moderate to occasionally heavy rainfall from the Triangle southward, where it becomes heavy rainfall for the Sandhills and the southern coastal plain. Again, it's making landfall in Wilmington right now, and that's only the distance it's going to cover over the next 12 hours, just crawling right along. As we go into tonight and early tomorrow morning, more heavy, intense rainfall for the Sandhills and the southern coastal plain, and enough rain farther north, including the Triangle, that we could have flooding problems within the Triangle metro area as well. These threats continue into the weekend. Still the heaviest rain falling farther south, with enough rain to be problematic whenever it intensifies elsewhere across central North Carolina. But still, here is that just fire hose of moisture continuing to point into the southern coastal plain and the sandhills as we go all the way through the weekend and into early Sunday morning. That threat will gradually pull farther to the west throughout the day on Sunday, but we're talking about a lot of rain overall. This is the latest estimate from the Weather Prediction Center. Consider this kind of the worst case scenario, and it's a huge transition zone that is squarely in place across central North Carolina. So you go farther to the northeast, the northern coastal plain into southern Virginia, an inch or two of rain. In ordinary situations, you just call that a wet weekend, and you probably complain about it. You won't this weekend because you go farther south, we're estimating 20+ inches of rain possible. That's approaching 2 feet of rainfall, and of course that's going to add up and cause significant flash flooding problems and river flooding problems, as the ground just is not going to be able to absorb that. For the triangle, even that transition is going to happen from north to south. Lower amounts the farther north you go. Then you get into southern Wake County, Harnett County, Johnston County, some of the suburbs could pick up 10 inches of rain. It's kind of the upper limit of the range of what's possible within the triangle. But be prepared for the worst while we still hope for the best as the system continues to make its way on shore. Purple shaded counties, you need to be prepared for a disaster, essentially, because we're talking about the wind damage to the power grid and the significant flash flooding threat as well. You need to ride the storm out in a flooding safe location. If you are unsure at all, it's time to go to a safer location right now. High impact for the triangle, which means the weather isn't likely to become life-threatening, but it still could, and it's at least going to be disruptive to your daily routine all the way through the weekend and even into early next week. The farther north you go, a lower impact, but again, just a little wobble to the north of the forecast path could bring all these patterns farther to the north. So don't let your guard down, even farther to the north into southern Virginia. Do want to show you the 7-day forecast because we want to show you some signs of hope here. Can't look at the 3-day forecast. Those are all alert days through Sunday as Florence continues to creep past us, and still scattered thunderstorms in the forecast on Monday as the remnants finally get a little kick off to the northeast. We'll drop the rain chances significantly by Tuesday. We mostly dry it out by Wednesday and Thursday. Tuesday could already be a dry day. I'm more likely to say that by Wednesday and Thursday, but we have a long way to go between now and then as we continue to monitor the progress of Florence as it's making its way onto the shore as we speak right now. Here is the latest, again, satellite and radar perspective of where the storm is. All those green outlined counties are flash flood warnings, and we are likely to see plenty of those for central North Carolina issued as we head through the next several days as well.
All right, thank you, Paul. It's going to be a long few days of the storm.